Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of How Did This Get Booked? I, of course, am your host, Jake Manning. I'm a veteran of the professional wrestling business for over a decade, and I've held every single job except selling popcorn. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Zane Riley. Zane, how are you doing today, especially with this location change?
We are on location, Jake, and I love it.
We were on location at highspots.com. Actually, power went out at my house, so luckily we were able to come to the High Spots office. So we are literally just a few feet away from a ring right now, which probably Dennis hasn't seen yet. Yeah. And actually, let's bring in our guest for the day, our non-wrestling fan, returning normal Dennis. Dennis, how are you doing today?
Great. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, there is a wrestling ring literally within a stone's throw away from you through
set up and everything.
Yeah, there's people in it wrestling right now.
There are people learning their craft right now who hopefully could be on a show just as classy of a show that we just saw today.
Where you make them watch terrible wrestling shows.
No, we make them put on terrible wrestling shows.
That's kind of the plan. But Dennis, you were on the I Hurt People, or I Like to Hurt People episode, which was the documentary, and it was about time for me to start cycling back through to some previous people to be back on. And I was like, well, Dennis hasn't really actually seen a wrestling show, so let's bring him back on. But since you saw I Like to Hurt People, did that like scratch an itch? Did that get like a little urge for you to see any pro wrestling? Or?
It did, not like live or anything, but I've just kind of was amazed at like the culture around wrestling and everything, and it's fascinating. And then
I Like to Hurt People is definitely very fascinating, for sure.
In the wrong way, but but yeah, like now like friends of mine who are wrestling people, they just are into it. I can actually sit and watch wrestling with them, and I don't have all these like preconceived notions and shit. I'm just like, oh yeah, let's do this. Let's watch wrestling.
Did you almost become too overqualified for this now? Do we have to cut it here?
Not quite. I like I said, I'm not like searching it out, but I understand it a little better, and I have a better appreciation for it.
Well, he watched the documentary I Like to Hurt People. That makes him an expert on professional wrestling. All right. Okay, Zane?
Well, I believe in that case we're getting away from our wheelhouse.
And I watched Glow on Netflix, so is that also overqualified?
Well, did you listen to our Glow podcast that we did about this?
Your Glow podcast.
Oh, well, thanks for tuning in, Normal Dennis. It's been another edition. How'd this get booked?
Yeah, we can't even market it to my friends.
Yeah.
I'll just see myself out.
Yeah, quiet on that door.
But anyways, we have the show we were discussing today. Like I said, I feel like this is a good juxtaposition from I Like to Hurt People. Yeah. Today's show that we are discussing today is a rather quick one. So this one might move at a pretty fast click. Yeah. So, don't blink on this one. But the show that we are discussing today is a WWE In Your House 4 Great White North. The show took place in the Winnipeg Arena in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Friendly Manitoba.
The Peg, as they call it there, as I learned. I actually went to spring break in Winnipeg. That's how backwards I am for fun. And actually, even funnier, it was about the time of my 21st birthday.
Was that 1995?
No, it was only like 5 years away, really, from 1995, actually. But
1990. Oh.
Exactly.
That's the first thing I thought. I was like, wait, would we go back? How does this work?
But the funny part about that is in Canada you can drink when you're 18.
Oh.
So on my 21st birthday, on a night that's supposed to be about like, hey, I can drink legally, I'm in a place where I could have been able to do that 3 years prior.
Shut up, bitch.
So, like...
all these alcoholic 19-year-olds are like, you ain't shit.
Yeah.
Well, I was an alcoholic 19-year-old as well. So, but I'm just saying the first time I drank legally it was spent in Winnipeg. But the attendance for the show was 10,339 people, which was actually double what the prior In Your House drew back in the United States. And also, too, it's actually about the combined total of In Your House 3 and 2. So it was a very large pay-per-view attendance-wise. It was actually the first WWE pay-per-view in Canada since WrestleMania 6 in 1990. Obviously, business was not very good in 1995, so basically the idea was, let's get international with everything. So this was probably an example of that. Actually, this show drew more fans than the Royal Rumble did that year in 1995. So this was like in the experiment of In Your Houses, which were an experiment at this time, because normally it was just like the big Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, King of the Ring, SummerSlam, Survivor Series. Those are the big pay-per-views. There wasn't these monthly shows that we have right now, and In Your House was the beginning of that, and basically the shows in between were 1995, whereas WrestleMania would be like $49.95 or $39.95. So these In Your Houses were a little bit cheaper. But that's probably why we only saw 6 matches, but there were 10 matches on the card, which we'll have to make point that there were 7 pay-per-view matches, but there were 4 additional matches for the live audience before the show. The crowd got to see Bob Holly take on Rad Radford, which might be better than some of the matches that were actually on the pay-per-view, believe it or not. But then after the show, which is weird, that your main event on the pay-per-view isn't the main event of the show in a sense. Well, it's not your last match on the show, I should say. After the show, the live audience got to see Henry O. Godwin taking on Psycho Sid. Bret Hart took on Dr. Isaac Yankem. And then Owen and Yoko took on Savio Vega and Bam Bam Bigelow. And actually, it was common for the In Your Houses to do this for quite some time, and that format wasn't scrapped until In Your House 16, Canadian Stampede.
Were they switched over to 3 hours, or they just didn't have that many darks?
They just didn't have that many darks.
Okay.
So it was basically like, they might have put like 8 matches on the card, but like it was getting, In Your House 16 is getting pretty close to the point that monthly pay-per-views are, just the same as everything else and no different than anything else. So it was getting to that point. And plus, how are you going to top the Hart Foundation taking on Steve Austin, the Road Warriors, and Ken Shamrock? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're gonna put out Southern Justice versus DOA? Like, how's that gonna work out? So, anyways, that's how it goes. But anyways, as we jump into the actual show that everybody saw on the network that is available, we got "Oh Canada" being sung by Tony Wilson, who has 0 online presence.
The up-and-coming songwriting sensation. And no, I couldn't find her.
I was going to say, like, I had a feeling you look into it as well, and I'm sure you probably look at it, but there was nothing. No, 0 online presence. Like, this is the biggest credit that Tony Wilson
She died right after this.
It had to. She has to be dead. There's no way. Like,
I don't know. There were a lot of LinkedIn profiles with Tony Wilson.
See, I didn't go LinkedIn. I went Facebook. I went Twitter. I didn't go LinkedIn.
She probably just gave up on her dream.
Yeah, she's like a normal person. Like, I'm just gonna give up.
That's the story she tells her grandkids. I sang for a wrestling show.
Yeah. All these dudes will wrestle each other in their underwear. Canada. Eh?
Well, who knows? It might have been like Bret Hart's favorite Canadian singer.
Maybe he had the in on that.
Yeah, maybe Bret would be like,
maybe that was one of his early side chicks.
Maybe.
And then he's like, "Oh, you're awful." He didn't get over as well. He's like, "Well, get out of here. I'll kill your career." And he did.
It's like when you're dating a comic and you find out he's not funny.
No.
Moving right along, we get into an announcement from Gorilla Monsoon letting us know that Shawn Michaels will not be wrestling on the pay-per-view, which is actually an announcement they waited to announce just after the pay-per-view started because they were afraid, because business was so bad, they were afraid that if they announced before the pay-per-view
that Shawn wasn't wrestling, he wouldn't even come.
They wouldn't buy it, and they would cancel their pay-per-view orders. So they kept that information as long as they could. So
too late to return now, assholes.
Pretty much. Money to watch this thing on TV, and the first thing you see is a guy say, "Yeah, Shawn Michaels isn't going to wrestle today."
Yeah, the big star of the show, and actually, like, Shawn Michaels versus Shane Douglas is something that people would really wanted to see.
Yeah.
But we'll get into why Shawn Michaels didn't wrestle later on in the show. But that's just one of the things we got to say up top. Also, too, the In Your House graphic, I forgot how much that looked like the Dire Straits Money for Nothing video.
It looks like a logo for like a daycare or something. It's horrible. And then it like video drones into the TV. Like, what are you doing?
Hanging out in 1995, normal Dennis. That's what I'm doing.
They're using Video Toaster, okay?
Come on.
That was one of the preset graphics. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it was one of the presets.
That's the way you do it, all right? Making that money on Canada TV.
Listen, we're just lucky there wasn't like a toaster flying with wings across there. Or a little toucan down in the corner.
The cumulative snow buildup.
That's right, I forgot about that screensaver as well.
A paperclip telling you how to get through the rest of this.
Paperclip coming out and saying, Shawn Michaels will not be performing tonight. That'd be even better if like there was like a Jiminy Cricket type thing with Gorilla Monsoon.
Well, hi, guys.
Hi, guys. Let you know that Shawn Michaels will not be performing on the show. That's right, Paperclip.
I didn't say it, you did, Paperclip. Send all hate mail to Jiminy the Paperclip.
Just like Bret Hart had to announce that Macho Man Randy Savage wasn't wrestling on the last show that we watched.
Yeah.
So
Maybe we can make that a theme.
yeah, like famous people making announcements.
Yeah.
Cushion the blow for paying customers.
Big letdowns.
Big letdowns. Match number 1, we start off with Fatu taking on Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Or the best match on the card, I would call it.
Yeah, this match, like, it's crazy to say, but like Dennis, you're already laughing. What are your thoughts on this match?
I just thought that Fatu's jacket looked like if someone poured Zima into like a jacket mold and like hardened it. Like
same could be said for Shawn Michaels'
I was
jacket.
going to say, like, they got
on.
the Pele jacket where they got the same shop. It wasn't even so much a jacket as it was just a, like, pleather cardigan almost, because it didn't really have, like a collar or anything. It just kind of V'd down Carlton style.
Yeah, I want to believe that Fatu and like Shawn Michaels like, hey man, what'd you get with your WrestleMania payoff? Like, sweet jacket.
Look at those fucking jackets.
Like, where'd you get that?
Shit.
this thing will never look dated or go out.
Guys, this is going to be forever.
But yeah, this is when Fatu is the man making a difference, which is a super positive vibe, very pre-New Day-esque in a sense. But Triple H, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, is basically the guy who's running the show, and here he is opening up on a pay-per-view.
The biggest man in wrestling today is jerking curtains.
I know. But also, too, in this, before the match starts, there is a sign
Yes!
in the crowd.
The best part of the entire show.
which on Hardgamer says the cardboard sign has written on it, yeah, fucker, hi, Todd.
The highlight of the show. I saw it and then I had to go back and rewatch it to make sure I just wasn't like
Going crazy.
yeah. Like, is Terry Funk on here? Did they say, hey, Funker? Like,
Yeah, I thought like, usually when you see a sign, you think it says Funker on it, but like, nope. Yeah,
straight up.
fucker. Hi, Todd.
yeah, fucker, hi, Todd. Yeah, I got those tickets, you son of a bitch.
But how about it for Canadians? If you want to say hi, you know, like, if you're using the F word, it's just to say hi to somebody.
Yeah.
Get somebody's attention. It's not derogatory.
Still the nicest cursing.
Yeah.
But, like, how did WWE not catch that and, like, blur that out?
Well, this is pay-per-view, right? Like, did it matter?
Yeah, but it's on the network now, which kids watch freely.
And it definitely is something that like has been made notice on like Wrestle Crap and other places. Like there's fucker right there on WWE pay-per-view in the middle of this cartoonish wrestling show that's going on.
You mean tell me the paperclip couldn't come out there and block it?
I have to make note of Jerry Lawler's commentary where he would call Fatu Fat 2 a lot. That was a lot of food. Also, too, it blows my mind, of course, is the no selling of the DDT and then into a super kick.
Yeah.
Which is a very 2017.
Yeah, it's like right now.
But it's okay because it's kind of got a racial undertone to it because Samoans have hard heads. Therefore, they no sell anything with their
Head related,
heads.
yeah.
So that's why that I think.
Which for the finish, like as soon as it happened, he hits him with the pedigree, and I was like, well, what the fuck why doesn't the DDT work, but the pedigree does?
Well,
and then as soon as I said that, they tell you why on commentary because it's his face, and his face is vulnerable, but not his head. Thanks, Jim Ross.
Yeah, which I love how we have to justify, like, no, like Samoans have hard heads.
Yeah.
We have to justify the stereotype. It's okay.
Guys, look, it's not racist if it's true, okay? And we've shown you that through DDTs and pedigrees.
Mm-hmm. Well, if that's the case, why don't we have more Asian referees? Because they're good at counting.
No! Because they can't drive to the building.
Oh! I was going to make a Joey Morello joke, but that's a dark turn.
Ooh, that's another edition of...
It's there. I'm sorry. Like, the joke is there.
You guys, you figured it out. You're right.
It's not a good joke.
No.
It's not a good joke, but I mean, literally, we were a couple days after, like, September 11th, so imagine how many shitty open mic jokes I've heard.
And you just did a roast, so...
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you know where my head's at right now. Also, too, a sweet diamond cutter from Fatu out of nowhere. You got to make note of that. Also, a post-match interview with Jerry Lawler and Triple H, where Jerry Lawler repeats a joke about Raid underarm deodorants.
Yeah. He named all the cockroaches in his house and stuff.
Yeah. And then, like, Henry O'Godwin tries to sneak up with the slop, which leads to the pig pen match that they have later on. Mm-hmm. So, any other thoughts about this match before moving on?
Hunter Hearst Helmsley's he looks like a Beauty and the Beast Gaston cosplay that just like went too far. Didn't know when to dial it back.
Gaston meets like 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah. You know.
Well, I'm sure Stephanie McMahon had to sign a contract before they hooked up.
I like that Jim Ross knew that the cologne bottle was called an atomizer.
Yeah.
I like that he was the one that knew that. It's an atomizer. What's an atomizer? It's an atomizer.
Sprays perfume.
Yeah, Hugh Lawler's the best.
Yeah.
He really is at this time. He's just on fire. Moving right along with the show, we cut to backstage where we have Doc Hendricks interviewing British Bulldog, Jim Cornette. And they show the turn on Diesel on Monday Night Raw, which I remember happening, and like that was like a big event in my life. Was when the British Bulldog turned heel. Like I was super like upset about it because I love the Allied powers, him and Lex Luger. And then like when Lex Luger went away, and then British Bulldog team with Diesel, I'm like, oh yeah, they're gonna show him. And then all of a sudden he hit him from behind. I'm like, no, I love British Bulldog. I was so upset as a young man. So, drinking illegally probably at that time as well. But, it just kind of sets up this whole main event. So, I actually bought this pay-per-view, and I remember being super excited for it because of all of that.
I remember I definitely bought this pay-per-view as well.
Sure, and I would not be disappointed, especially with match number 2, the Smoking Guns and 1-2-3 Kid and Razor Ramon in a tag team title match.
Man, the Smoking Guns were my fucking shit back then.
And I think this is like the moment in time where like Billy starts this outshining Bart. Mm-hmm. Like I think this is when Billy like because they both kind of started about the same time, and when they first came in WWF, I feel like they were kind of at the same talent level. But then there was like this shift that was happening, and I think this is where we start to see the shift where Billy is he's figuring it all out. He's making everybody look like a superstar. Mm-hmm. He's overselling everything like crazy. He's bumping like a maniac, and he's just going for it.
Yeah.
Like, he was just on fire in this match. What were your thoughts on this, Dennis?
I just, as if wrestling didn't have enough homoeroticism, here come in like 2 cowboys with leather vests, and I was like, okay. This is ahead of its time. Yeah. This is years before Brokeback Mountain. How much?
Jake and Heath coming to the ring.
Yeah, I'm surprised their finish maneuver wasn't "I don't know how to quit you."
Mm-hmm.
I just know how to quit this match.
Yeah, that's their line for like a submissions match. Do you give? I don't know how to quit this. As the guy's got him in like a sleeper hold or something from behind.
something along those lines. But Dennis, what are your thoughts on Razor Ramon though? Because he's super over at this time.
He just kind of looks like a douchebag. Him and the 1-2-3 Kid. It was like maybe 1-2-3 Kid wasn't a douchebag, but then Razor Ramon took him under his wing and just like made him into a douchebag.
Just douched him up.
Yeah, douched him up. So I was rooting for the Smoking Guns. I was like, go guys.
Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys, exactly.
But so did you pick up on like the fact that they were kind of supposed to be good guy, or like because they like Razor and Kid, they did kind of do some heelish tactics.
Yeah.
So like obviously,
I figured that they were the heels. Like they were. It just seemed kind of like they were the more nefarious and like they were tagging in and out way more often than the Smoking Guns were. It seemed kind of an unfair fight. Like after a while, they're just like beating up on one dude, just like taking turns beating up on him, and I was like, this is just kind of villainous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
What did they end up not being villains later?
Well, I always thought that was kind of like before it was cool to be Stone Cold heel. I always thought Razor kind of had that. He was a baby. When he was a baby, he was still like very came off heelish.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think they did a great job of juggling things.
Yeah.
Because both teams are good guys. Mm-hmm. So there is that sense of like, okay, we have to kind of manage.
Somebody's got to be
a little bit more aggressive, and I feel like that's like Scott Hall taking the initiative and going, hey, I'm super over.
Yeah, I can do this.
I can do this.
And he's also the bigger of everyone.
Yeah. Like, yeah, he's a bigger guy, and like and we're trying to get to we're trying to do this slow build to Kid turning bad guy anyways. Mm-hmm. So we kind of want it to kind of turn that way anyways. And I like how the commentators make note when Kid pulls the ropes down that they're questioning whether or not Razor was in on it or not. Yeah. So like there's this ambiguous thing of like, is Kid kind of on the take it, and he throws the tantrum afterwards, and all of that.
Yeah. One of them was like, oh, these Canadians must like cheating.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on, that's like saying like if the Harlem Globetrotters showed up to Canada and they cheered when he dunks from a stepladder, it's like cheating. It's like, it's not fucking cheating.
It's the show.
It's just not in the rules yet.
Yeah.
It's like the guy who came up with Uber. You know what I'm saying? There's no law against it. They're just allowing it to happen. Also, too, I like the double knockout and the reversal of the pin. Like, the crowd really bought it on the one turn. Like,
I did, too.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. That almost should have been the finish as well.
It totally should have.
Yeah, the finish was weird. It was different. But, like, they were managing so many things in there, and I think it was quite fun.
Oh, that was the let me have it, and he turned it into a crucifix.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, he hit it, and like Razor, like, we got him right where we want him, because Razor is potentially going for 2 title wins in a night.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, never had been done at this time. It's not where they were, changing the titles willy-nilly around. So, anyway, this match happened. I liked it.
Yeah, it was good.
It
wasn't bad.
Cool. Good. A lot of action. Fun. Mm-hmm. Great. Maybe not as much fun as Doc Hendricks trying to sell us life-size stand-ups for $25. Especially his pitch for the Bret Hart one.
Watch you sleep?
Would you like this thing to be watching while I get sleep?
Which, I'm going to be honest, guys, it worked because I fucking bought one. I had the Bret Hart cutout and the Bret Hart shirt they show. It's funny because like they're paying the crowd, and the lady in the front row is wearing it, and then later in the show they show her again and she's not. But I totally had the Bret Hart shirt, and it was when they were still doing one size fits all. You remember those shirts?
I remember those shirts, yes.
Which is bullshit, because they are large.
I see you as being a guy who would call bullshit on all sizes fits all.
Yes, because I was I was at like 10 years old, did not fit all of me.
Okay.
But then later on, they turned it into one size fits most, but it's a large. It was a large size shirt. Okay. That was the one we got. So if you were a small or large, you were set. But if you were a fat kid with self-esteem issues, with Bret Hart watching you sleep, you don't get to wear this shirt.
Yeah, but ladies, if you want Shawn Michaels,
you wanna take him home every night? You want to stick a dildo on this thing and bang it out? Here you go. Kids, you like pedophiles? Here's a Canadian.
Just stare at you and watch you sleep. He'll protect you in the middle of the night.
Don't worry, kid. I sharpshooted that demon.
I'm surprised there wasn't a chapter in Bret Hart's book where he talked about how his life-size stand-ups saved so many children from nightmares at night. Because that sounds like something he would have wrote in his autobiography.
It was my idea to have a cardboard cutout, and
for all the kids who are afraid of the dark, and to give them, power and empower them to get through their fears. That my life-size stand-up help these kids in their fear of the dark. Like that's something he would.
Yeah,
write.
he totally would.
Absolutely.
It's probably in the forward somewhere. I usually skip right over those.
Well, it's in the unbridged version.
Okay.
They had to dumb it down for the U.S. version a little bit. They had to
In the Canada version, though, it's all over the place.
Oh yeah. Oh.
He drew pictures of it and everything.
Well, I wish somebody would draw a picture of our next match, which is match number 3. Marty Jannetty taking on Goldust. And this match, let you know, is only 11 minutes long, but
Only?
felt like it went on forever.
It was like a 4-hour match.
Yes.
Martin Jannetty, those...
Martin?
What do you think Marty's short for?
Did you look up his court records and his mug shots?
Old Bartholomew over here.
Anywho, that guy... You ever see those paper novelty lamps? And that's like a piece of paper, and there's a fan underneath it, and then there's a light. So it looks like
a real fire.
Flame. Yeah, it looks like it looks like that's what he wore to the match. Okay, he just looked like a paper novelty lamp. I don't know.
Yeah, the fringe was a little bit out of control,
over the top.
I get the Rockers' fringe never got that ridiculous. Yeah. I don't think.
But he really had to stand out over Shawn Michaels now.
Yeah, but also too, it's just that's like fringe level that Macho Man would wear on the ring jacket on the way to the ring.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not what he'd wrestle with. So, but just a little piece of information, a fun fact. This is actually Marty's first pay-per-view match since the Royal Rumble in 1994. And this is Dustin Rhodes, Goldust's first pay-per-view match since Royal Rumble 1991. But it is the debut of the Goldust gimmick, which is actually the character that probably led him to the future WWE Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
this is our first time seeing an iconic character that has spanned over several decades, probably the most recognizable WWE superstar of all time. Dennis, what are your thoughts on seeing Proto Goldust?
He's there today as that.
Yes.
I just think it's the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
Success.
His intro is the longest, most drawn-out thing ever. And then it took longer for that fight to start than it takes for James Brown to sing the national anthem. You're just like halfway through, you're like, come on! And then...
My knees getting tired kneeling through this thing. Let's go.
Yeah, that's what. If you want to end guys kneeling for the national anthem, just have James Brown. These guys are like, oh, my knees. It's too bad.
Then they just switch knees. You're like, damn it.
I look like an asshole now.
This old guy, if he just sang "Coming to America," he'd go a lot faster. Yeah, why isn't that our national anthem?
Yeah.
But actually, this is they talk about Marty Jannetty's demons in
Yeah.
the commentary, which is funny because this is 1995 and Marty Jannetty has a whole bunch of fucked up shit he has to do yet.
Those demons are still there. Bret Hart has not saved him from those demons. He did not get one of those cardboard cutouts.
This is for sure. Actually, fun fact. I was supposed to wrestle Marty Jannetty one time. But it was 5 o'clock somewhere.
He's too busy trying to bang out his daughter.
Which 5 o'clock is the international time for having sex with your daughter.
Oh God!
Because supposedly there's this girl who he thinks is his daughter, but he's not for sure.
He just found out it wasn't.
He just found out it wasn't, but he's been asking people on Facebook, "Hey, should I still have sex with her?"
I raised her as my daughter for so long, but she's not. Can I fuck her? If you guys really love me, you'll let me know.
Wow.
And this is the guy.
So, Normal Dennis, what do you think?
It sounds really European. I don't know.
What's your thoughts on incest, Normal Dennis?
If you raise someone as your child, even if they're not biologically related to you, you should not have sex with them. There are some kind of just relationships that you forge with other people that you shouldn't, drag sex.
I say this. I believe Marty Jannetty is from Georgia. Does that change her?
Yeah,
and she's smoking high.
Then go for it, Marty.
She's super high.
Okay.
I'm going to write you down in the maybe column, Dennis.
50-50, depending on the location.
Yep.
Also should be pointed out they were trying to do everything they possibly could without calling Goldust gay, because that pretty much was what he was pulling and where a lot of his heat came from was some very backwards wrestling fans getting very mad and be like, this is very progressive to have somebody who would be doing homoerotic stuff on television like this, and they were trying to pull out people's insecurities about gay people at this time, and that's basically what wrestling was pulling out of that. But they were doing everything except saying that. Like, I remember the word that they always used, and they used it in commentary, androgynous.
Yeah.
And there's
Bizarre a lot.
Bizarre, and they even made a point of, Vince was saying he's very much on the androgynous side, to which Jerry Lawler goes, androgynous? Well, if you put a hat on it, that should cover it up. I don't know what that is, but I love that comeback.
Thanks, Jerry.
Also, too, Jerry was on fire, too, because you move all the movie references and stuff like that. Like, he gave Marty a backdrop, and he goes, oh, that's from the movie Airplane. 'Cause he just flew like an airplane. And then, like, all of a sudden, like, he's punching Marty in the face, and Jim Ross goes, oh, you're probably saying that's from A Fistful of Dollars. He's like, no, Rocky.
Stupid.
Why can't we have more of this Jerry Lawler? Like,
you want to get ratings back up? I got you.
Also, too, they were talking about famous Canadians, and all they could come up with was Wayne Gretzky and Monty Hall. Like, what about John Candy and Pam Anderson? Like, seems a bit more timely.
It's like I don't know. Maybe they thought John Candy was an American, the same way people think Neil Young is an American, and he's a Canadian.
Oh, okay. Well,
Neil Young's Canadian? Mm-hmm. I gotta go. Everything's a lie.
I gotta go burn some records.
So,
goddamn Canada.
So when he was saying keep on rocking in the free world, he was bitching about Toronto?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he lived in America forever, so he was just bitching about the country that he lived in.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
He just liked to bitch.
He's just being rock and roll is all about bitching in an aggressive fashion. It's fun to dance to.
Okay.
So he nailed it.
All right.
He was crazy about horses.
7 men don't need him around anyhow. A major botch by Jannetty. I really feel like Jannetty's like really shooting to keep a job right now.
Real hard.
At the expense of like Goldust's debut. Like Goldust is like, I just want to have a good match. And,
let him flip for you, man.
yeah, just like the back flip off of there, and then another no-sell DDT into a rocker dropper, and then like this finish obviously got messed up.
Was it the way he like goes for the splash and he just lands on his feet and then gives him the elbow to the back?
Because I think it was supposed to be Goldust was supposed to put the boot up and then give him what I guess would be
kind of what we got to.
Yeah, kind of we got to eventually. But at this moment in time, this is before like the curtain call and all that stuff. It was just a gore buster, and they changed it to the reverse suplex eventually as well.
How on the fly do these decisions get made, and how often does like going off script, so to speak, happen?
I feel like at this time they're calling a lot in the ring right now because I feel like you still have that era of guys when they came up, it was call it in the ring. They'd have a finish, they'd have a couple of spots. They do also too like they're doing a lot of house show matches that I'm sure were called in the ring, and they would just be like on TV or on paper-view like, hey, why don't we do a couple of those spots we did at the house show? We'll just kind of put them in where they see fit. So, like, the probably was like, hey, go to this spot. Hey, go to this spot. And they just go to the sequence and stuff like that. And they might have called some stuff in between and stuff like that.
But this moment here would have definitely been like, well, this would have been called.
Yeah.
And it just got fucked up.
Yeah. Because Goldust would have been making his debut specifically on this. I don't think they would have done a bunch of house shows leading up to that. They might have, though. This was a different time. This was like...
I mean, like, just this one moment of the finish itself.
Oh,
like,
yeah. The finish would have been the one thing for sure they would have had together.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what the communication was. If it was... Like, you'd think if, Marty was going to the top and, you got to give him the boot, that's the only time he's going to the top. They're going to do that. So, I don't know what happened, what went wrong. But it's very interesting to see a guy, and especially a character that is going to be in the Hall of Fame, And this is the first match of it. Like, everybody's talking about right now, in the beginning of football season, the Patriots, like, got their butt whooped by Kansas City. And people are like, writing him off for dead, and it's like this situation of like even Goldust. Like I'm sure at this moment in time they're like, well, this Goldust thing is dead in the water,
fucked up,
fucked up. And I'm sure Dustin Rhodes is like, really, this is my life right now. This is where I'm at. But now he to this day he's still with the company. He's actually, I'd say his matches are even better now than they were at this time. So he's in better shape and he's doing all kinds of great stuff. So
how old is he now? You think?
Jake, you wrestled him.
Yeah, I've wrestled him a couple of times, different incarnations. probably, he's got to be in his 40s.
Yeah.
Have to be, for sure in his 40s. But, like, tell you what, I wrestled him probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And it was just a simple, like, same spot he starts off with every time. It was like a tackle, drop down, reverse hip toss thing. And he told me ahead of time, he goes, hey, just to let you know, when I hit the ropes, I'm going to take off real fast. So you better catch up.
No.
And so it came
Better have your wings on, boy.
Pretty much. And he's like 10 plus years my senior. He had a sure enough tackle, and he hits the ropes. I fucking had to struggle just to fucking get where I needed to be for this spot to go off properly.
Man.
He is still a fast motherfucker in the ring, at least as of 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah. So
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's cool to see that this did not derail a Hall of Fame career. That's very, very interesting to see. If you would have told me that, I wouldn't have guessed it.
Yeah.
So. But I think everybody kind of knew what we have in store for us next in match number 4.
Fucking Christ.
King Mabel with Sir Mo taking on Yokozuna with James E. Cornette. Which basically this match happened because they're like, well, since you two broke The Undertaker, wrestle each other. Dennis, what are your thoughts on these two behemoths going at each other?
It reminded me of like 2 fat guys like fighting for the last jumbo-sized Baby Ruth in the gas station, just like flubber. It's like if the robots in Pacific Rim like just ate their feelings and decided to punch it out. Like half the fight is them slowly climbing the ladder back into the ring. Like, yeah, it was great though. This is my favorite match.
Get the fuck out of here.
I like it when like it takes forever for anything to happen and then they resolve it with hugging.
I like when shit's really built up and it's really anticlimactic.
Yeah.
He's like the positivity at the end of it. Like that's what he was really like. All these guys are fighting and they hate each other afterwards. I just like when the two grown men working together. Like,
that's what we need more of.
To make sure each other doesn't fall down.
It's like the reason why I watch Unscripted with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. I just like seeing 2 grown men like listen to each other. That's my favorite thing about it is one talks, the other one shuts up. One talks, the other one shuts up. Like
it's how the world needs to be.
That's how Dennis likes watching wrestling. He just likes seeing guys hug it out afterwards.
Yeah. I like King Mabel's entrance. They had him like they carried him in like he's King Xerxes and he's got like a bedazzled Burger King crown. That was awesome. I was like, yes.
Which good on those guys that carried him out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no kidding.
They got their workout for the week.
Like he weighs a ton, but yeah, I think that chair has to be able to hold that much. So that chair probably weighs fucking 300 pounds enough, like itself.
Damn.
And then, of course, there's like a random weird bulldog that kind of doesn't happen. And then also, too, Yokozuna falls on Cornette. Just, I think...
Casualties of war, brother.
Yeah, just kind of lazily. And then, like, they lazily get back in the ring. And, like, I was reading up on this on, like, WrestleCrap and some other places. And they were like... They made mention that like it was amazing how bad this match was because like these two actually wrestled each other before and it was good.
Yeah.
Like these 2 guys exchanged body slams on each other. And another part of the match they had the GIF playing of them body slamming each other, like Mabel picking up Yoko and Yoko picking up Mabel. Like
why did they were able to pick each other up?
Yeah. Like they were able to do that. And the thing is it's like they had the potential to do some cool shit. But they're like nah, not today.
Fuck it, guys.
Like, and when they would exchange stuff, like people would get behind it. Like this had the potential of doing something, and they don't have to work that much harder. Like,
or at all.
Yeah. So I don't really get it. I guess we were supposed to hate it because why would we like it?
The commentators were disgusted by it. They were like, "Oh no, they're hugging it out." God, even they didn't like it.
Yeah, but I think we weren't supposed to like
it.
They
wrote it.
But like I said, I don't think we're supposed to like it. But like already, like we have like false advertisements. Already, we're only getting like 6 or 7 matches.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like. Yeah. Kind of like, and one match is just set up to push along a storyline. Another one's kind of a debut of a guy. Like, don't you want to give somebody something?
Yeah. Like, when you do like, hey guys, maybe give a little bit more out there tonight because we got a whole lot of strikes against us.
Yeah, like you'd think that would be something discussed. But
yeah, but clearly not.
Clearly not. We move on to an ad for Survivor Series. But then we got to get right into the public shaming of Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, who was under concussion protocol, which was hardly ever done at this time, but it is done definitely for Shawn Michaels. I remember the whole handing over the title being used a lot in the "Tell Me a Lie" music video all the time, like especially the part where Dean Douglas like snatches that Intercontinental belt in like a super dickish way.
There was a lot of foreplay leading into like the last time I saw that much foreplay, like just leading into someone handing someone else a belt. I was watching lesbian porn. I was just like, come on, guys, just hand the belt off.
But yeah, they drug this out for a while now. But yeah, if you think about like the running total of this entire show was just under 2 hours. I'm sure they might have been like, hey, stretch this. But they kind of make mention of it, but they kind of glaze right over it a little bit of this whole incident. This is a very well-documented incident in professional wrestling. It was the Shawn Michaels beating that he took, which... for my research, I got a lot of research on this. Zane, are you familiar with the story at all of Shawn Michaels outside of a Syracuse nightclub?
Oh, yeah, we got beat up?
Yes, basically, they were at a place called Club 37. Shawn Michaels was known to, get pilled up, have a few drinks, and then shoot off his mouth. But he was good friends with Diesel, Scott Hall, and, like he had, and of course Hunter Hearst Helmsley, they'd all be riding together, so he could shoot his mouth off because he has 3 big guys kind of backing him up. Right, and he's very much notorious for this time getting drunk and shooting off his mouth. That seems to be the thing that happens. Apparently he was hitting on a waitress who just happened to be dating a Marine who was at this bar, saw this, did not like this. The incident goes that Shawn, and he was out with the British Bulldog and 1-2-3 Kid. And the girl who was the waitress offered to drive those guys back to the hotel because they were so fucked up. But Bulldog and Kid wanted to have a little bit more fun and go back. They went back into the bar. Well, Shawn slept in the car. And then this is where the stories kind of vary. Supposedly, a lot of people say that there's anywhere between 4 to 9 Marines that beat up Shawn Michaels.
Jesus.
But most accounts from, especially Kevin Nash, probably says it could have been just one guy. Shawn was just completely out of it. Doesn't even remember the incident happening. He was lying in a car, passed out with a door unlocked. So some guy could have just came over, grabbed him by the throat, and just fucking went to town.
Could have been a hobo.
Could have been not Marines.
And
he could have just rolled out of the car and landed face first on the ground and like, oh fuck,
I got beat up.
Some of the like Dave Meltzer dirt sheets, but like Dave Meltzer reported that Sean Waldman, X-Pac, was there and referred to him as legitimate tough guy, which was a joke with the Click for quite an interesting period of time, calling Kid a legitimate tough guy. But that was something that was said because Kid knew karate. Some people said that Kid tried to do according to Brett's book, that Kid tried to do karate, but he was so pilled up he like basically fell over. and British Bulldog, who was like a really jack son of a bitch, he was too pilled up to do anything. But as I learned from the Sonny shoot, this is actually where the affair with Sonny and Shawn Michaels started. Because he got completely beat up. Kid and Bulldog got back to the hotel with Kid. There was a knock on Chris Candido and Sonny's door. And then Shawn got beat up. And Sonny, who was at one point in time pre-med, they knew that. They took her to the room and they were looking at him and stuff like that. And basically she was kind of like his nurse for the night, but like she saw Shawn in kind of like a very sympathetic light, and that's kind of where she started to have feelings for him, which started a 9-month affair that they had. So that's kind of how so there's a lot of ramifications afterwards.
Florence Nightingale effect.
Yeah, very much. So, but then Shane Douglas gets substituted in. He gets the substitute of being the Intercontinental Champion and still has the distinction of being the shortest Intercontinental Champion of all time in 15 minutes.
Get Shayna.
Yeah. And that's the thing, too. Like, Shane Douglas, Dean Douglas, everybody talked about, like, he was seen as, like, a number 1 draft pick type of guy. And everybody thought that Shawn Michaels versus Shane Douglas was going to change the wrestling world because he was always known as this great wrestler. But through my research of talking to a lot of guys, there was like Shane always claims that Razor sandbagged him on some matches, where that's most certainly other people claim that that's not the case. Like even like there's reference of like, you know, Scott Hall talked about one time. He goes, the only thing he remembers is one time they were wrestling in London, and they basically like drank on the plane all the way there. They had little or no sleep. They basically had to go from the plane to the hotel to the venue and then wrestled. And then Shane kept saying, take it home, take it home, take it home. And they took it home early. And then Scott's like, hey, are you okay? Did you hurt yourself? And he's just like, Shane's like, no, I'm just tired, man. And Scott's like, this is where I fucked up. Because I guess like Scott yelled at him in front of the locker room. He's like, I should have pulled him off to the side and calmly told him, you don't do that, and, you know, get it together and stuff like that. But he goes, but I didn't. I yelled at him and screamed at him, told him to take pills, and take uppers if you have to, you know. And he goes, that was not good, and I'm sorry for that. But you know, like Razor was, I guess he really had to work with Shane for a while, and he said he didn't like it. And Shane Douglas claimed that Razor sandbagged him, which Kevin Nash claims that wasn't the case. But then also, I believe Nash said that Sean Waltman was kind of the barometer of guys. If you couldn't have a good match with 1-2-3 Kid at this time, you couldn't have a good match with anybody. And apparently 1-2-3 Kid's like, yeah, he's not the guy who we think it is. Also, too, there's another incident of Shawn Michaels said that one time Shane hurt his back before a Madison Square Garden show, and he pulled out because his back wasn't feeling well. And Shawn's like, this is fucking Madison Square Garden, you know? Which is funny that Shawn is saying that, considering he's like, doesn't go, this is fucking pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Like, just buck up and do it.
Just fucking do it.
You know, how many guys have wrestled over the years with concussions? But it's one of those things, you know, but I feel like it's important to report every side of the scenario. This is like the one part of it where I did more research than I probably should have. for one match that was kind of like only happened once.
Yeah.
You know, on a pay-per-view ever. Like, there was no return to it, which is really weird because it had a really weird ending. Like, it seems like he was set up for a rematch, but I don't think that ever happened. Like, the leg was outside, and the finish was weird. Like, I think they were
real slow, like, the reverse the deal, and he came back with the clothesline that he ducked, and it just kind of looked real awkward, like him taking him up like that and everything. And
well, and I think they were trying to go for... Like, I think what happens, like, Shane should have had his arm on top of Razor, and Razor should have had his arm on top of him, and then he counted, and then you just rewarded to Razor. But I don't know. I think they were trying to go for the Harley Race Ric Flair NWA title thing, where the guys, both the shoulders are down, but they awarded it to, you know, the other guy. That's how Harley Race won his last NWA World title before Starrcade. But yeah, it's just really odd and awkward, and... but yeah, clicked in like Shane Douglas, and then, you know, this was kind of the beginning of his end, the unraveling of it all, as you will. And like I said, the Shawn Michaels story is legendary, so it should be brought up and mentioned. So those are all the sides of it. I quoted. That's one thing that's nice about doing research for this time in wrestling. All you got to do is just look up, you know, Brett's book, Shawn's shoot interview, and then look up what Hall and Nash said. Now, two of those sources have a little bit of hyperbole into them, and usually aren't as accurate, which is usually Shawn and Brett. But usually Hall and Nash, fucking on point.
Right down the middle.
Right down the middle, is truthful, and is taking consideration all sides. So, sorry. That was kind of the whole point of that.
Don't geek out. It's your show, man.
Yeah, be a fucking nerd, dude. It's cool.
It should be mentioned. But other than that, I mean, the match was okay. It was passable. I mean, Razor winning it for a fourth time was like a big deal. I remember being super happy when it happened. Like, because the thing is, I really wanted to see Shawn versus Dean Douglas, because I kind of had a feeling Dean Douglas was a good wrestler, and Shawn just had an amazing match with Jeff Jarrett a few months prior, winning the Intercontinental Champion. I remember how amazing that was. Shawn was just on fire right now as a wrestler, and he was babyface, freshly babyface, so it was going to be an awesome match because nobody liked Dean Douglas at that time. Apparently, everybody hated him. That was part of his undoing. Moving right along, we get to, you know, another plug for the hotline.
Were these hotlines supposed to be called by children? Was this like a, you know, kids get your parents' credit cards, or were adults calling these lines? Like,
it was more for the kids.
Who the market
it's a little
was.
bit more for the kids or preteen type people and stuff like that. I think that's kind of true. But hotlines were big money.
Yeah,
like there were
$2 a minute. Jesus.
There were some people that worked for wrestling companies solely so they could get the hotline money.
Wow.
Yeah. That'd be like saying that I'm solely working for this wrestling company so I can get the online ad revenue money, you know what I'm saying? Like
T-shirt sale.
Yeah, there's just solely a T-shirt sale. But like Dennis, at this moment in time, if you were to call on the hotline, what question would you ask?
What are you on right now, and where can I get some of it?
Who would you ask that to? He'd be like Marty Jannetty.
Any of them, but yeah, Marty seems like he's the go-to for this.
Hey, baby, let me tell you where I get it. All right, first thing you got to do. Marty would totally tell you.
Oh, yeah, he would totally tell you. Well, like the WWE official sits next to him.
Hey, you can't talk about that. Hey, man, it's cool. Calm down. Hey, now, you're going to see this one guy. You got to give him the money and go around the corner, all right?
Yeah, you're never going to give the money directly to the guy who has it. That's going to be weird. Because that's not like any other business you deal with, but trust me.
Brother, I didn't believe it at first either, man, but I'm all right.
I only want to fuck my daughters.
Yeah.
It's not weird.
Hey, while I got you on my hotline, hey, man, can I ask you a question?
Oh, but speaking of families, Bret Hart joins the commentary team, whose brother...
It's a segue. Fuck
Well, he's going to do commentary for his brother-in-law, British Bulldog, in the main event here. Before he does that, he has to run off Jerry the King Lawler in a very Keystone Cop-ish type of way. But like, I love it, though, just Lawler running away, because that mullet flapping in the wind, that was an amazing mullet.
Was the King the one talking shit about Bret Hart the whole time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. That's why he ran away. So, let's see. I think because the idea that Bret has the title shot with Survivor Series, so I feel like if you're kind of a Marky Mark type person, you want the Funky Bunch back together.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you want British Bulldog to win so you can get a repeat of, Bret versus the Bulldog, which was an amazing match at SummerSlam a few years prior. But, also, too, like, the Diesel match they had at Survivor Series, which ended up happening, and what we got is one of my favorite matches of all time, hands down. So, I wouldn't have guessed that, because I think I was even leaning towards I wanted Bulldog to win the title here, so we can take on Bret, and then Bret wins the title, which they don't switch titles that fast,
but still
at this time. So I should have known. But in the back, we go to Doc Hendricks asking Diesel before he walks out, and Diesel replies back. He goes, "I'm feeling awful funky."
Like your dick smells?
It's like, you don't look funky. Are you sure you know what funky means? Are Canadians capable of funkiness?
I don't know if this is an inside joke of the clique, and I would love it explained to me. Like, this is the question I would ask Kevin Nash. Like, what do you mean by that?
What is your end game?
Well, like, that has to be an inside joke. Like, that has to be some sort of joke on somebody that we didn't get, and I would love to know the backstory on it. But right now, let's get in the foreground, which is match number 6, the WWF World Title match. Diesel taking on the British Bulldog. Just a lot of fucking Bulldog putting on shitty submission maneuvers.
It was
like,
did not like.
Yeah. I had to skip through some of it because it was like there would be like a solid minute and a half of him just like holding his legs. It was just really boring.
Yeah, and that was the criticism. And this is always my criticism when you work over a body part. Is then that person has to sell it in their comeback, and then that person's comeback is less spectacular. That's why I always tell students, like, hey, maybe avoid picking out a body part like a leg or an arm, especially if you want to do a spectacular comeback, because then it's not believable.
Diesel had to limp around the whole match after that, and it was like, dude.
And you don't want to do that with the main event of a pay-per-view. You want to be able to deliver and get some movement and some mobility and stuff like that. So maybe like... But, like, Bulldog kept putting on, like... And he wasn't even putting on believable submission maneuvers. So, like, there's one where he just has the arms crossed. And, like, it's weird seeing the excellence of execution trying to justify what his brother-in-law is doing.
This is something we learned in Stu's basement. Fuck, man.
Yeah, you could just hear, like, just Bret's uncomfortable. It's like, I have to justify this because I'm trying to do my job. But fuck this noise. But yeah, like it was just one of those rough things about it and stuff like that. Could have been better and stuff like that. I would really like to see like British Bulldog really kind of pick Diesel up and just slip behind, turn around, give the big boot, bum feed, doing the snake eyes, and like we like to see a big old rah 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 like baby face explosion. And
Not
like
two guys hugging on the ground for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I don't know whose really idea was for all that and stuff like that, but
The most devastating move this whole match was to me was the fucking elbow drop Jim Cornette gave Diesel's knee on the outside.
yeah.
That looked real scary.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Or the pie face that fucking Bret Hart took at the commentary table.
Bro, that's what really started that concussion.
Yeah. Well, then it ends like in a disqualification, and it was just weird, and like this just felt like a 2-hour-long Raw before they had 2-hour-long Raws.
Yeah.
I mean, if this, like I said, if this was on Raw, this is no problem. But I mean, this is a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And looking back on now monthly pay-per-views and stuff like that, it's very odd to look at it. But I'm sure at the time, like, no, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we want and how we do it. But as the legend goes, according to Bret Hart's autobiography, is as soon as this match was completed, Vince McMahon took off his headset and goes, "Horrible." Was his exact words. So, I don't know if that was a proclamation for the entire show. There's reports that Vince McMahon yelled at Kevin Nash afterwards, but then he might have been just commenting on the entire show, and Kevin Nash just happened to be there.
Both are believable.
Both are very believable, unlike the sharpshooter that Bulldog tried to put on. Yeah, and they were talking about Nash's 10 knee surgeries. That was back in 1995. Much like Marty's Demons, there's a lot further to go. A lot more damage yet to be done. But yeah, DQ finish. I don't even remember it being a DQ finish, but I mean, we're just getting ready for this awesome match that fucking Kevin Nash and Bret Hart are going to have in a few months anyways. That's kind of all they're doing. But yeah, 1995 to watch an episode of Raw. Yeah, and none of the matches except for the main event went over 13 minutes.
God bless him.
Yeah, it really
They
just
didn't feel that short.
You think like you could have cut you could have cut that main event and had a really good main event and gave him like Henry Godwin and Sid or something.
Yeah, well that's the thing is like you could have. There would have been nothing wrong with Brad Bradford and Bob Holly.
No.
Like especially like the way Bob Holly, like people didn't like him, like working with him because he worked hard.
Yeah.
Like it would, like you could have put that on a pay-per-view and it would have been fine. And also too, like the pressure of like having Goldust go almost 11 minutes in his debut of a character. But at the same time too, I'm sure Marty saw this as a situation like this is my big breakout match too. I think that's part of the reason why I made note of, you know, how long it had been since Marty had been on pay-per-view. Marty's probably seeing this like, oh, I'm going to have this great killer match and show him that I can be just as good as Shawn, you know? And
This is my way back.
this is my way back, you know?
Or like, why wouldn't you give him like Brett and yank him early to like get the house real hot, and then he beat Yankem, and so it's a big deal when he comes back at the end. Also, he's already beat a big man. Now he's having this showdown with a big man at the end.
Yeah, again, you've already done Brett and Yankem at wait a minute. You would have already done that at SummerSlam, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that would have already happened at SummerSlam. So, yeah, it would have happened at SummerSlam. Yeah. So that already would have happened. You could have started the show up. But at the same time, too, like, Brett's probably not a big deal. I'm not jerking the curtain.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing to me is Brett is in street clothes, and he basically has to go all the way to the back. Like, I don't know if I don't think he had his tights on.
Yeah, I had to go to the back, then get dressed, and all of his stuff.
Yeah.
So he was multi-layered.
Exactly. So I don't. But the thing is, those black jeans were pretty tight. I don't think he had his tights on underneath. So to me, I think the most impressive thing in this entire pay-per-view is the fact that Brett was out there doing commentary and then ran to the back and then got dressed. I want to know that story because
that wasn't in the goddamn book.
He only had enough time to get back there for like a Henry O. Godwin and a Sid match to happen for him to put his knee pads, his boots on, and he's got the pants and he's got the singlet top. Like there's a lot of elements to his gear. It's not just like whipping on trunks and tying up your boots.
Yeah,
like that's the most impressive thing in this whole pay-per-view is how fast Brett got changed after doing commentary for the main event. That's what I want to know about. And then, you make Yoko wrestle twice. I'm sure that was another thing, too, why Yoko was like, nah, I'm just going to kind of just fucking do this 5-minute match. Especially since we're going to be the last match and people kind of want to see something, which Savio Vega and Bam Bam Bigelow.
What a team.
What a team. The world is deprived from not seeing that.
They don't even know how long the match went on Wikipedia. It just says unknown time.
Unknown time. But that was the list. That was the Great White North. This is actually, on some lists, it's recorded as the 4th or 5th worst WWE pay-per-view of all time. But I think that's only a reflection if you look back retrospectively. Because I think at the time, you're like, no, this is kind of what we kind of sort of had planned. And yeah, the matches could be better. But at the same time, too, like...
But they weren't, so fuck you.
Yeah. It was like, I guarantee everybody was like, this is $20 pay-per-view. Fuck you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
of course.
Like, this isn't one of the big ones. This is like it's just a longer version of Raw.
Yeah.
And I think this is when people had to really realize, like, hey, we probably need to do better at these things. And they did progressively get better over time, but also, too, they're getting an influx of Stone Cold Steve Austin coming in, you know, Shawn's breaking out as their champion, and he wants to prove that he's the fucking... best on the card, and that's something to be said that they made a point like, hey, we can't not have Shawn and not have Brett on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And because this is what happens. Yeah. This is a perfect example of it. And also too, like, Razor is a big part of that formula too of always having a great match, and you had Razor wrestle twice.
Yeah.
Which I gotta believe though, since we made fun of him. How bad do you think Marty was politicking? I'll do double. I'll wrestle the Intercontinental title.
Hey, man,
match.
let me put a hood on, man. I'll come out there. I'll be Dean Douglas for need to.
He probably was like, come on, I'll replace Shawn, and then you could have, because they want to go Razor and Goldust anyways eventually. But
you have me and Shawn. Like, man, maybe I'll put him through a barbershop window this time.
Maybe I win the Continental belt, and then me and Shawn can feud again. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guarantee that was discussed.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm just saying, I'm here.
I'm here. But, Dennis, any other thoughts about the Great White North pay-per-view?
It was just really boring. That's my main problem with it. I mean, like, compared to other... And I've seen I've seen a few now since last time we've talked
like Monday
about
Night Raws
wrestling.
and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Goddamn wrestling snob over here.
But see that...
Just compared to the stuff that I've seen done, like, recently nowadays, it's just, like, it's not on the same level. And there's nothing, like, kind of giving it, like, oh, it's okay, I understand, because it was back then. I'm like, this isn't, happening back then doesn't really, like, excuse it for not being, like, very well, like, put together and the matches being kind of like a drag. And I don't know. It's kind of boring.
Yeah, and I think that, but I think it also has that sense of some of these awful shows, or quote-unquote awful shows, have a stigma because there's some sort of thing around it, like Shawn Michaels getting beat up outside of Syracuse, or like, there's always some big drama around it that people remember, and the idea of Vince McMahon took his headset off and said, horrible, as soon as this thing's over, and so I'm sure that all those things kind of trump it up and kind of push it up that list to be in the top 10 worst of all time for most people, and most people in their minds. But like I said, this is the type of thing they were doing in 1995, and listening to Kevin Nash's talk about 1995 today and research for this podcast, it sounded depressing. and obviously the product
sounds horrible.
Yeah, he was talking about like, they would only get $50 to do TVs, and like, they would only get, some house shows were not very good. They were going to Poughkeepsie, like, which are towns that I go to, and they were only getting $200, $300, and then guys are traveling, you're on the road 25 days out of a month, and you're just struggling to make that money because there was no money to go around, but you're making $50 at TVs, a couple $100 at other places, and paying for hotels and rent-a-cars, and you're cramming a couple of guys in a room, and you're on the road all the time. Like, I got depressed just listening to it. So yeah, the tough times, and obviously the in-ring work kind of reflected it. So things got better and guys were making money. No wonder why 1997 was so good. Anything else before we wrap this up, gentlemen?
I think we nailed it.
Okay. Dates coming up. Me and Dennis, you and I together, we're promoting a show, All Organic Comedy Open Mic at the Evening Muse, September 20th.
Oh, so soon. Excited.
Yeah, so this is actually going to come out this Thursday. Is there anything else you want people to know, Dennis? Is it coming up here pretty soon? Next couple months?
I got a couple shows coming up, but Nothing crazy, just some mics, stuff like that. Let me see here.
Okay. Well, like I said, the All Organic Show, Luke Mons and Dave Spector will be our comedians. They'll be in town from New York City, so make sure you check that out, the All Organic open mic. Also, too, the day after, Luke and Dave will be at the Cabarrus Brewing Company for me, which will be September 21st. So,
Hey, when are you going to put me on one of those, man?
I'll put you on soon. We'll discuss some dates as soon as we get off here.
Yes.
I'm booked up through October, and then after that, I'm wide open. So I'll put you in contact with the guy that puts that together. Zane, you got anything that people know about before we get out of here?
You said it's coming out this Thursday?
This Thursday, yes.
I got a thing with you.
Okay.
That's this Thursday? That's this
if
Sunday, right?
Yeah, that's Sunday. I told you that the guy doesn't even know exactly where the building's going to be.
So that's a thing. And then we got Big Time Wrestling next week.
Yep.
Raleigh and Spartanburg. Yep. And then AML on the 30th.
There we go. I'm a little bit lighter. I got a lot of comedy shows coming up. I got Christian Moyen on a Sunday. These are the 24th and stuff like that. But as always, any information about shows and stuff like that, people can just get in contact with me. And also any corrections or thoughts about this podcast, make sure you tweet at me at ManScoutManning. If you want to email me at jake@sslshow.com. Also, too, guys, make sure you check out the website, howdidthisgetbooked.com. I'm going to be updating that, and I just updated it with some new t-shirts. I got my own personal merch. I got t-shirts for the show, How Did This Get Booked t-shirts. Also, I have my new Under for Life t-shirts. They're all available at howdidthisgetbooked.com. Also, too, have more information about the next show we will be discussing. I'm going to give you a little bit more timely on that. I know I've been letting that slip, but I'm going to update that website here in the next couple of days. Also, too, make sure you subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud. Also, too, Zane, let you know we have a new review written. And like
Did that one guy write just a second one?
No. And that's somebody who's taken me up on the challenge that anytime I have a new review, I said I will say your name every single time on this podcast until I get another new review. Now, Charlotte comedian Evan Pitfield.
Oh, Jesus fuck.
Took me up on that challenge, knowing that might be a while before another review gets written. So he wants me to say Evan Pitfield on a podcast every single time we have an episode.
Such a Pitfield move.
Yeah, he just wrote a review on iTunes.
Classic Evan,
who wrote 5,000 jokes for WCW Sin on an episode we just wanted to go 50 minutes. Yep. So
he's literally the worst person in the world.
Yes. So he's getting some free advertisement for his comedy right now. We have to say his name every single episode until somebody else writes another review. So anybody out there, now would be a good time to write
Normal
a review.
Dennis will run home. You have your computer right here.
You could Dennis, you could write a review, and it's an Apple laptop, so I'm sure you can get it on iTunes immediately, and it'll go right up there.
I don't have any internet access here.
Okay, well, as soon as you get home, if you write a review, then I will say Normal Dennis on every single episode until somebody else writes another review.
Your review should just be, fuck Evan.
iTunes might accept it. We don't know. So.
Who knows how that stuff works?
Exactly. I barely do. Maybe we'd have more people listening. But anyways, this has been another edition of How Did This Get Booked?
Woo!